If you are chasing something right now, more money, a better title, a body you'll finally be proud of, people who will finally take you seriously, I need you to give me 15 minutes. Not because I'm smarter than you, because I already ran that whole race, start to finish, and I know exactly what's waiting at the end of it. My name is Walter. I'm 91 years old, and before we're done here, I'm going to tell you the exact sentence my wife said to me the night our marriage nearly ended. A sentence I still hear some nights, 40 years later, right before I fall asleep. 91 years buys a man a strange kind of freedom. Everybody I might have wanted to impress is either long gone or long past keeping score, so there's no reason left for me to make my life sound better than it was, or to sell you anything. What you're about to hear is just the truth, the way it looks from way out here at the end of the road, looking back down the hill at wherever you happen to be standing right now. I was born in 1935 in a coal town so small most maps never bothered with it. My father went down into that mountain 6 days a week for 31 years, and it took him apart a little at a time. His hearing first, then his lungs, and I think somewhere in there, some part of his spirit too. He'd come home black with dust, too worn out to say much of anything, and I watched grown men in town look straight through him like he was a piece of furniture, useful, beneath noticing. I was 9 years old the day I decided that was never going to be me. Nobody was ever going to look past me like that. I didn't have the words for it back then, but what I wanted, more than money, more than anything, was to matter enough that people couldn't help but see me. So I built. That was the one thing I actually knew how to do. I started as a carpenter's apprentice at 16, and by 30 I had my own shop. Cabinets, staircases, furniture people kept for 3 generations. I was good, genuinely good. The kind of good where a man would wait 8 months for a set of chairs sooner than buy something faster somewhere else. And I worked. 60-hour weeks were the easy ones. I told myself every single time that it was temporary. Once the shop was steady, once the mortgage was gone, once the children were a little older, once this town finally stopped seeing us as the family that came up from a coal camp with nothing, then I'd slow down. Then I'd be the father I meant to be. That day never came. There's always another cabinet. There's always another client. There's always one more room left to finish in the house you're building. By 50, I had it, the whole thing. A waiting list 2 years long. My name on buildings across 3 counties. Men who used to look straight past my father the way you'd look past a chair now shook my hand like it meant something. And I felt almost nothing. Not misery. Something quieter and stranger than that. Like I'd spent 40 years building a beautiful house for a guest of honor, and when the guest finally arrived, there was nobody standing in the doorway. I remember sitting alone in that shop one night, running my hand along a cabinet I'd just finished, thinking, I actually did the whole thing. So why does it feel like I'm still waiting for something to start? It took me another 20 years to understand what had actually happened. I hadn't spent my life chasing a business or a reputation or respect, not really. I had been chasing a feeling, the feeling of being worth something. I believed that if I built enough, If the work was fine enough, that feeling would finally show up and stay for good. But you cannot nail that feeling to a wall. You cannot varnish it onto a table. Worth was never something the world hands out once you've built enough proof for yourself. I could have that feeling at 19, free of charge. Instead, I spent 50 years trying to earn something that was never for sale in the first place. I made the exact same mistake with my wife, and it very nearly cost me everything that actually mattered. Eleanor and I married when I was 24. I decided my job as a husband was to provide a solid house, new shoes every fall, a car that started in January. So I provided. I handed that marriage every hour I had left once the shop was closed, which most weeks wasn't very many. We nearly separated when I was 41, not over money. We had plenty by then. Over absence. I would sit across from her at the supper table with my body in the chair and the rest of me still back in the shop, sanding a table nobody would remember in 20 years. One night she said to me something I have never in the 50 years since managed to forget. She said, "Walter, I did not marry a paycheck. I married a man, and I would like him to come home." I didn't understand her that night. I thought I was home. I was the one paying for the roof over the table we were sitting at, wasn't I? It took me years afterward to understand that providing for a person and actually being present with them are two entirely different gifts, and no quantity of the first can ever stand in for the second. I lost Eleanor 3 years ago, and grief has a way of making everything else go quiet and honest. Most of the men and women I grew up with are gone now, too. But among the ones still here, I've noticed something I wish somebody had sat me down and told me 60 years ago. I have a friend, Roger, 93 years old, who is still worked up that his brother-in-law's tool shed is bigger than the one he built 5 decades back. 93 years old, and he is still keeping score against a man who is also 93. It has never once crossed his mind to simply stop counting. I have another dear friend who spends every visit listing what's gone wrong. Her hip, the size of her pension check, how rarely her grandchildren call. I love her, truly. I have never once heard her mention something she's grateful for without my asking first. She seems to be waiting for her life to apologize to her before she'll agree to enjoy any of what's left of it. And then there's Mabel, 2 doors down from me, 89, half blind in one eye, who paints little watercolors of birds and gives every single one away. She has less money than either of the 2 I just mentioned. She laughs more than anybody I have met in 91 years on this earth. I asked her once what her secret was. She said, "Walter, I gave up needing to matter to the whole world. Turns out I only ever needed to matter to about 6 people, and I already did." That difference right there is the entire lesson. It was never about money or health or even family, though family helps more than almost anything else does. It comes down to whether a person has made peace with themselves, or whether they're still out there keeping score in a contest the world was never actually running fairly to begin with. You want to know what real freedom actually feels like from a man who's now had 91 years to test the theory? It's not having so much money that worry can't tapping his watch. These days, that fear has mostly gone quiet, not because I finally did enough. Nobody ever really finishes. It went quiet because I finally understood that being remembered was never actually the assignment. Being here for as long as I get to be here was the whole assignment. It took me about 70 years to get that backwards. I'd like to save you most of those 70 years if you let me. Here's the trap, and I need you to really hear this part, because I fell straight into it twice. You believe that once you finally get the thing, the wanting will stop. It won't. I sold the shop and retired at 68, certain I'd finally relax. Instead, within a month, I was lying awake worrying about my savings, then my health, and whether the work I'd built my whole life around would even be remembered once I was gone. The fear didn't leave when my circumstances improved. It simply packed a bag and moved into whatever room happened to be empty. That's when I finally understood something that's held true my entire life. Fear doesn't leave because your situation gets better. Fear leaves when you decide it no longer gets to run the house. No amount of money, no achievement, and no other person can make that decision on your behalf. That one belongs to you alone.
Everything I spent 50 years chasing, the reputation, the money, my father's dignity returned to him secondhand through other men's respect for me. I never actually wanted any of it for its own sake. I wanted to feel safe. I wanted to feel like I mattered. I wanted to feel loved and worth loving. And I went looking for those feelings in the one place they were never going to be handed out. Outside of myself, in other people's opinions, in a shop full of furniture built to prove a point to a 9-year-old boy who'd been gone 80 years. I could have given myself safety and worth and love at any point along the way. I never needed to earn them. I only needed to stop refusing them. That sentence sounds simple, I know, said out loud like that. It took me half a century to actually believe it. Honestly, at 91, some days I'm still practicing believing it. Young people tend to think happiness is waiting for them further up the road, once the account is full enough, once the ring's on the finger, once the debt is finally cleared. I believed that too for most of my life, but I have now walked the entire road from one end to the other, and I can tell you with complete certainty, there is no far end to reach. You finish one room, and there's another room. You put one worry to bed, and another one moves in to take the empty chair. That's simply what living is. So if you're waiting for everything to be finished before you'll allow yourself any peace, you're going to wait for the rest of your life, because it is never going to be finished. Something will always need sanding. This right here, today, exactly as unfinished as it is, this was never the hallway leading up to your life. This is your life. So here is everything I have left to give you, from a man with almost nothing left to prove and nowhere left he has to be. Stop telling yourself you'll finally be all right once you get the thing. That's a lie. I believed it for 50 years, and all it bought me was 50 years of postponed living. You do not need the thing. You need to decide today that you are already enough exactly as you stand, unfinished, imperfect, a little bit afraid. You were never required to earn that. You only ever had to stop arguing with it. I've made my share of mistakes. I chased things that could never once have loved me back. I missed suppers I will never get returned to me. But if there's one thing I know for certain, sitting here at 91, it's this.
Whatever you think is missing from your life, you are standing far closer to it than you believe. If any part of this found its way to you, pass it along to somebody who's grinding themselves down, chasing something that was never going to fill the space they think it will. And tell me down in the comments, what's the thing you keep telling yourself you'll finally be happy once you get? I'd like to know. At my age, I've finally got the time to read every single one.